6:30, and this is the City of Brainerd Safety and Public Works Committee. Everybody's here, as well as Engineer Hulsether. We've got 8 items on the agenda, and we're going to add a 9th item, which is part of our survey equipment, actually a thing called a data collector, which just gave up the ghost recently. Is there any additions or corrections? Do you want anything you want to add? Nope. Okay, we're going to go as quick as possible because we're only going till 7:15 tonight, and then we're going to showcase Brainerd. Item number 1 is a rental registration appeal with the Woodcrest Townhomes and Apartments on Hillcrest Drive. We've had an awful lot of correspondence on this with and I don't know if anybody's here. Anybody here to speak on that? If there's something you want to say that adds to the argument, come on up. If not, you've made a pretty good argument in the thing. How about Tim? Anything? We did get a memo from you.
Yeah, I'm just looking for clarification as we get through this a little bit.
Yeah, I bet. I bet the townhome owner is too. Either of you, any questions that you have? I mean, the one that popped into my mind, and I think Tim Cawhey answered. I think the argument by the property owner seems pretty straightforward in my mind, as far as, hey, I have to re-register and I can't transfer this. Seems pretty understandable, and then I get a mess of late fees, more than the more than the cost of the license by 10 times. No, Rick, you're shaking your head. No, that's not the argument. They like all that stuff.
They're not late fees.
What was the $17,000?
Nope. They're
Unlicensed dwelling fees.
yep, unlicensed dwelling fees.
Administrative fees.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of the problems are going to come out.
So if we call them late fees, it'd be okay, Rick?
No, because then you'd have to go by court during 10/03.
Well, would we get the money?
No.
Okay, then. So the problem's the 17 grand, as well as the procedure. Okay, now I asked you if you wanted to speak, and you said no. And now you're sitting there speaking, and we're on TV, and these people can't hear you, and they can't see you. So you either got to, or you got to come up to the microphone, give us your name and stuff. Now I don't mean to be rude, but you know what I mean. We got to do it that way. Okay, so I'm talking to these people, and we're trying to confirm what the argument is and what the situation is. And we've offered the property owner, the complainant, an opportunity to speak. We've offered our city staff an opportunity to speak. Now we're going to talk. We're going to make a decision, hopefully. Okay? So, yes, $17,000 in unlicensed dwelling fees. Plus maybe a little procedural thing as far as how different we are from other cities, although we did get something from our building inspector that were maybe not all that different from everybody. I think it was Bemidji that as one that a city of our size that does exactly what we do. Mr. Engineer, anything that you wanted to add?
Well, yeah, Friday I did send out a couple of other emails to other cities, St. Cloud in particular, and today I did get an email back from Lisa Schreifels, who runs the rental program in St. Cloud. And she indicated that the city of St. Cloud does not require, it does provide for license transfers without cost. So that's a little bit different than our ordinance, and typically she indicated that they only catch those at renewal time, which is typical for us. We typically only catch them at renewal time. But it doesn't sound as if they've got late registration fees as such. I think from staff's perspective, our concern is that when a property transfers ownership, that we know who the owner is. So if we've got a problem such as we had up on Juniper Street, or disorderly house, or something of that nature, that we've got a contact that we can make aware that there's an issue with the property. So and I think that was the basis for requiring a new registration upon transfer of ownership, so that we would have that contact information.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I mean, it does, to be able to know who's responsible.
But at the same time, I think our ordinance does lack a little bit in terms of how we address that transfer.
Okay.
I guess I feel like
this was known to the city at the time that the transaction occurred, if there was an inspection by our inspector prior to the sale. So it was known to the city that the sale was happening. And we didn't inform the new owner until now that she was violating a city policy. That doesn't seem like we're doing our due diligence if that inspection did occur before the transaction closed, which according to the documentation that we received did. And so it seems like we didn't necessarily do our diligence as a city if it was the transaction was known to the city by the inspector.
You want us to say something?
No, I thought he did. You know, I knew all of you were going to want to say something.
His attention.
Why didn't you come up and say it when all right.
I kind of wanted the discussion to start first. so
I understand.
I
See
think
where it's going.
I think we're all on the same page as we think this is a pretty observant fine for a non-licensed rental registration. From a staff's perspective, that's a good point you brought up, Sue. But we've got over 1,000 owners, and that's a moving target. Some go from owner-occupied, some go to rentals. It's hard for us to track that. I mean, you said we had an inspector at the job site. I didn't know whether or not there was a buy or sell going through on the property. It's just getting what staff's looking for direction from is if we have to have something in place so we know who the new owner is. Unfortunately, when the old owner relieves himself of the property, he no longer has any interest in whatsoever in staying current with the ordinance. So if something does happen, we have a juniper incident or something like that, we have no way, we don't know who the owner is. And if we have a nuisance or a garbage issue or something, that notice is going to go to the old owner until it doesn't happen overnight for our records over at the county. I mean, it takes time. My next concern, not to get convoluted here, but if we don't have some way of getting that new owner registered, when it comes around to the 1st of June again, when they have to register for the next year, we aren't going to be sending them a notice. So you're going to have another 30, 40 people in the room going, I didn't get a notice. You kind of see where my drift's going here?
Oh,
We're just
absolutely.
looking. I know we got to come up with some ideas, but we're looking for directive too.
Okay. Can you stay up here for a moment?
Yep.
Chip, you have any questions? Because I have an idea. Well, here's you got two problems. One is this person, $17,000. Can we fix that right now? You and the three of us and Mr. Halseth. She put together a pretty valid argument, I think. And she paid upon
Prorated.
discovering, she paid, in my opinion, this isn't a case of, I never got the letter. As soon as she found out what was going on, she was in, I'd like to address the $17,000. We can fix, and then take a second step to try and fix our ordinance. Is that okay? Because we might not be able to fix the, but I understand completely what you're saying. We have to have a mechanism in place to know who our owners are. But I'm not exactly sure that that's her problem. That's our problem. So,
To maybe just help with that a little bit, how this did come about was when staff does have some time, when we're coming into the new registration period and ramping up for our mailings, Lori does try to go through most all the properties, and when these big ones, this was 39 units, come through, it adds up fast. Start taking 39 units times that fee.
oh, absolutely.
So it's very possible this could have slipped right by till the next registration too. Back to the other problem.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay. Now, while you're here,
Okay.
I'd like to see us pull something else, which is, let's see what her request is. She doesn't have one.
But
She
she'd like
just
us to accept what she paid. as the registration and waive the.
It doesn't
the,
say that.
The $17,000 in the misdemeanor charge, from what I read from her attorney.
I read that too. That's not from her.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would
The attorney's
What I
not
kept-
part of the packet.
swirling around here is the owners and managers thought they were doing everything correctly. And therein lies the difference. It's pretty clear, looking through everything, that this was not an intentional floating or sneaky Pete. This was
Okay.
trying to do it right and misinterpreting, our policy.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe, what they're more used to. On the, even though there's not really requested, is it exactly 17,000 plus? And a misdemeanor charge.
Another issue is going to complicate this a little more, and I hate to bring it up, but
Sure.
we have to.
Absolutely.
We had several individuals that purchased properties in the last 2 months. They come in and paid their registration, re-registration. They had to do it just for the 2 months. They're gonna get a letter. This falls back on whether that
Right.
license fee should carry through. So I agree that whatever's council's wishes how to address this, but there is going to be a backlash.
What's the
Could be.
1,216 is just the prorated amount? You have, off the top of your head, how much should have been?
No, the-
to
No, the
re-register?
1216
is the full amount.
That's
What's
the
the full amount?
registration.
Okay, and she'll,
Yeah,
In her,
that's
in her
the-
name.
Yeah, that's the
And-
$32 per unit.
Yep.
and it says she's issued a check for that.
Yep.
Yes.
Have we returned it?
We have not returned it, but we have not processed it until we
Okay.
get directive.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that, she's in essence paid the
Right,
relicensing,
right,
not even prorated.
right.
So she's done what all those other people,
Yep.
okay? Anybody want to take a stab at what to do?
I would throw a motion out that if she's already paid the fee that's supposed to happen on the front end, that we then get about the 17 grand and somehow,
Optimistic.
yeah,
Okay,
that would be my, just
pretty
to
simple.
move on. But we do have to address the issues that he's bringing up so that,
Is there a second to Chip's motion?
Well, I'll second the motion till the but.
Right, that's why I was trying to do this to him, but
Okay.
he wasn't paying attention.
that's my motion.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, now that the butt's gone and the merry-go rambling is we have a simple motion. The motion is to accept the $1,216 already paid for the relicensing of those apartment buildings, forgo the roughly $17,000 worth of additional fees and the misdemeanor. Understand? Any further discussion? Kim, it's unusual, but I'm going to ask if you have a comment, even though we don't. Yep. Okay, because we all respect you and your opinions.
Yep. No.
Okay, so that's the motion. We have it seconded. We've discussed it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, do you want to tackle our procedures this evening, or should we take a walk for 2 weeks and come back?
I think that'd be a good idea. Give staff some time.
Sure.
We can come up with some options.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be,
Okay.
that would be ideal if
Yep.
you gave
Okay.
us something to react to.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, this will be a recommendation, there's 4 other of us, so for 17 grand, you might want to stay. But I mean, we've got a unanimous decision from Safety and Public Works, so, as to where we're going with at least your question, so, and then it'll be voted on, and who knows what will happen. Rick can tell you. So, item 2, a stop sign request. This one I'm familiar with. Mr. Engineer, anything you want to add to?
No, I think police department has been up there last couple of weeks and with speed signs and kind of evaluating the situation. It's a very, very small amount of traffic up there. We don't have any kind of a crash history whatsoever, so we really don't view it as being a safety concern at the intersection. It's more of I think, training some people that drive through the neighborhood. So staff's suggestion would be to just refer this back to city staff, have between the police department and us kind of try to stay on top of some public education up there for some time and then kind of report back with our results.
Okay. Anyone in the audience to speak on this issue? Okay. Any questions?
None.
So we've had a citizen request to put a stop sign on Northtown
Yep.
at the intersection of Northtown and Wild. I talked to this person today. Mr. Allsether has nailed.
Yep.
It is really more of an encouragement to follow the law.
Yeah.
Deal. There is stop signs entering on Northtown's kind of a little. In fairness, it's a long stretch without stop signs. Sometimes drive too fast. So this was this person's possible solution. What do you guys want to do?
I would make a motion that we follow staff's recommendation and that the police department be asked to evaluate the speeding situation and report back at one.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, item number 3, organized collection. We had more than a few people, particularly garbage haulers, speak on this. If you recall, just to keep everybody on focus, Alderwoman Cope brought the original argument up on people leaving those little plastic two-wheel carts at the end of their driveway, where sometimes they stayed there for days and days and days, and sometimes they ended up in the street. And we all thought that this would be a good time to relook at organized garbage collection. I have a thought on this, but Mr. Holseth, anything you want to add after?
No, I think, with the discussion that took place at the last meeting, I think from staff's perspective, there's certainly the competition, I think, is keeping prices down in the community. About the so it's not a price issue, I don't think. And typically, organized collection is really not about having rollout carts on the street. It's about it's more about the number and weight of garbage trucks serving a neighborhood. I did pass along the email from Eric Logie, and so I think for this evening, if we could. I think staff is looking for direction in one of two areas, either if there's an interest in continuing the discussion about organized collection, then staff would recommend that we perhaps follow up on Eric's suggestion, and since this is our busy time of year, maybe push this back till fall, and see if we can have some dialogue then with the collectors and about organized collection, or if there just isn't any interest at all in doing organized collection, then let's let the licensed collectors, make them aware of that and just move on.
I have some thoughts on this. I've been through this.
My comment is the first time that the concept came up to me a couple of years ago, I did a little further reading and understanding about it. Conceptually, the idea seems like it's worth more discussion and more exploration for our community. It just seems like it could be something that would benefit the city as a whole. So I would like to keep the conversation going about it, I can understand Mr. Logie's perspective of it's a busy time of the year, and we can certainly wait until fall. But I would like to have more discussion about it.
Okay.
I'd like to get some of those guys together and we all sit down and talk about pros and cons and see if it does make sense, or if somebody can convince me that it's just a stupid idea, and then we move on.
You were nodding your head while he was talking. I
Well,
saw
and
that.
I think he's right. It is worth more of a conversation, but it doesn't address the issue that the citizens brought forward, and that is the trash bins on the street for days or weeks at a time. And so I think it's two issues.
Exactly.
And the issue that the citizen brought forward is what led us to the, let's look at organized trash pickup, because then we know what day the cans are supposed to be there. But we haven't really addressed what the real problem was. And I'm not a big one on making more rules, because I'm just not real big about making more rules. But if that's what needs to happen, then maybe that's two things that we look at what an ordinance would look like to regulate putting your trash cans away, and we look at a dialogue in the fall about the concept of organized collection, whether we divide the city or we give each hauler percentage equal to what they have right now in business, that chunk of the city. I don't know. That's to talk about in the fall. But we should get to what the original issue was, even if that's too bad. We're not going to do anything. That it's an
Yep.
issue that doesn't bother enough people.
I understand. Mr. Arskarten, a couple comments on
Yeah, thank
either
you.
or both of these issues?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that at the April Planning Commission meeting, the issue of the dumps, or the
Carts.
trash containers, the carts, was brought up by the Planning Commission about what, if anything, we should do as a community about that. I explained to them that the council was going to be taking a look at the organized collection and that it could be discussed as a part of that. But I just want to let you know that the Planning Commission is aware of it, so if you want to do something separate and you want some Planning Commission input, they are interested in doing it.
May I make a suggestion? That at least until the planning commission comes back, we keep this together. Second, that we put a second meeting in October to come back, unless we decide to bring the card. And here's the reason why I would keep it together for now. Is one of the people, I do not want to put words, I don't remember which one, thought that maybe they also had an idea. If you say, okay, not organized garbage collection, but the problem is 85 garbage trucks on our streets 85 different times, picking up stopping at every same place, I think they all understood. It seemed like that's something we'd like to try and get the weight off the street, and the time a little bit more coordinated. I think citizens would like that. I think that makes sense. But I think from what I heard, quite likely the garbage haulers themselves might have something better than socialized garbage pickup. Communist garbage pickup.
Free market.
So, and I think even one of them mentioned that they had a thought on the carts. I sympathize with you, Sue. I really think we might be writing legislation to keep Mr. Oscar, and not that maybe that's not your deal, but to keep him busy on a complaint I've heard one time. If we're going to deny the stop sign, which then which one person asked for, maybe the two-wheeled cart thing isn't such an overwhelming problem. Now I might be wrong. It might be the kind of thing where tomorrow we get 350 complaints on carts. But this is the first time I've heard it, and it was a one-time deal. Not meaning to trivialize it, but obviously about a big story. But I would keep it. My recommendation would be to direct staff to notify our garbage haulers that we are going to be relooking at this, the second meeting in October, that the issue of the two-wheeled carts has been referred to planning and zoning, but in the meantime, we would accept any written suggestions as to how to reorganize our garbage collection. And I think we've got then we have the 5 or more smartest people working on it, who do this every day for a living. And I really think they're all smart enough that they understand the problem and that they're sympathetic to it and maybe can, and if they come up with nothing between now and October, then they got nothing to complain about if we end up doing something that they don't like. So, but I think Chip's probably right. I can see how this could come to a meeting with those garbage haulers later in the fall.
Sure.
Does anybody want to make that motion to follow that direction?
I'll move.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Please put your comments in writing to the engineer. We're not going to do anything till the second meeting in October. So if you've got some good ideas, we really want to hear them, and we're not interested in jamming something down your throat. That's, first of all, that may not work. You're the smartest guys. So help us. You understand the problem. Lots of trucks, lots of weight, lots of repair, especially on the alleys and on streets that weren't designed to handle that much traffic. And we're not necessarily picking on you, but let's just say we're starting with you. Because of the issue with the two-wheel carts, it came up, then something we've looked at. So, all right, we are going to move on. Item number 4 is the event street closure application for the Memorial Day Parade. Mr. Allseth, anything you need to add to the request in the...
Nope, nothing that we need to add.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Borgenhagen, second by Hilgard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is number 5, the land exchange. Any further things you want to add, Mr. Hallsether?
No, I think everything's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep, this looks fairly clear. Oh, by the way, the closure on the Memorial Day was by the VFW, if you're
Yes.
watching at home.
Yes.
So, okay, the next one, the land exchange, which is down by Wright Street, correct?
Yes.
Seems pretty straightforward. Is there any questions of the engineer? Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of staff accepting the low proposal from KLD Engineering in the amount of $1,300 and to split the cost, one half with the other property owner, and that was for the rewriting of the plat parcel.
Yep, the legal descriptions. Yep.
Motion by Hilgard, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Borkenhagen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Next up is improvement number 14-09, which is Delwood Drive. Mr. Engineer, anything you want to add on Delwood Drive?
Okay, no, I added a memo to that, and I think it's all pretty much self-explanatory. Basically, what we are kind of laid out how the county's proposing to proceed, what our costs are estimated to be in the project. There is going to be some additional right-of-way required for the project, and the county's going to assist us with that. The big question that we are going to have to answer in the not-too-distant future is going to be how we want to deal with that from a special assessment basis. Baxter will be doing some special assessments on their segment, and it's going to be, their policy is to assess based on what would be a full-depth reclamation, and we're trying to get some information on about what they estimate that might run per foot. And I don't have that figure for this evening. So from a comparison basis, it's not, we're really not sure. I suspect their proposed assessment rate is going to be higher than what we would potentially be proposing, but I just don't have that comparison yet. So I guess without that comparison, I don't know if the committee or the council are prepared to move forward with something. Typically, our assessment policy would be to assess one half of the cost of a local residential street. Based on that, with our reconstruction costs being about $30,000, the assessment rate would end up being about $12 per foot. So that's, I think that would be about consistent with the assessment rate that we had when the county did the overlay on McKay Road a few years ago. So I think it was very, very common, or very similar to that. The unusual thing, though, is that when we did McKay Road, those were 100-foot lots or 150-foot lots. Here in this quarter-mile segment, we've only got 3 parcels. So these parcels have, the northerly parcel, I think, has about 600 feet of frontage, and some of the others are in between there, 300 or 400 feet of frontage. So because of the size of the parcels, some of those assessments are going to get, could get on the large size.
I did hear from the property owner, Mr. Todd Wallin, on the northeast, the 600-footer. And his two, just doing a little math, where we would normally assess half, it's roughly a $7,200 then assessment, which he felt actually exceeded. He was quite specific. He was questioning whether he would gain that much benefit from this project, and certainly, he seemed to have more knowledge than I did on this, and then the other portion of it was with the right of way being askew on the center line, is that he felt that it, and again, there's no drawings attached with this. There's a description, but he felt it was going to put with the expanded width cross section of the roadway, was going to put the curb line per se. I don't know if it's curb, but he's going to put it incredibly close to his front windows and take a lot of trees. Now I don't know if that was straightening out the road or following the current road bed and just expanding it, because again, there's a discussion of the right of way not being dead center on.
Now, I think and I don't have a diagram either. From my discussion with the county, it's my understanding that the existing roadway is offset west of the section line. So actually, the greatest impact would be on those parcels that would be in unorganized territory on the west side, not the east side.
Unless he was worried that we were going to slide it back.
Yeah, and the big
Into
deal
his
is
living
that,
room.
there would have to be some trees removed, and the reason for that is the current speed limit is 45 miles an hour, and under the state aid standards with any speed limit over 40 miles an hour, the state requires, when you don't have curb and gutter, you just have ditches, you're required to have a 20-foot clear zone, where if someone goes off the road, they've got 20 feet to regain control before they start slamming into trees. So that's the rationale for the additional right-of-way. It's not going to be so much to construct the road in a different location. They are proposing to build the road on the existing alignment. So it will be widened a little bit to the east side, but most of it, again, is for that clear zone. The one thing the committee may want to consider also, I think there's really limited ability for any of those properties to subdivide up there. It's all wetland. I think where the building pads are located the 3 building pads are probably about the only buildable property in that 40-acre tract. We don't have water and sewer up there, so the requirements for wells and septics and high ground, I think I don't think that we would ever be able to see any subdivision and creation of additional parcels.
What if we just if we take it in half and assess half of it and just divide it per parcel, 3 parcels, and that seems to be, and maybe it isn't, maybe you could argue that it isn't fair because one person has more linear feet, but if what you're saying is true, in that we're trying to equalize amongst 3 parcels where it's not like the guy with X amount of frontage feet is going to be able to subdivide. So everybody almost should pay the same. We are committed to this project, correct?
Yes.
We have to do this as part of the LRIP, I think, the local road improvement program. I think we put it off 1 year, didn't we?
Yes. Yep.
So And I don't know how else you do that outside of the fact that we assess something less than 50%. Any thoughts or questions? You're looking for some direction this evening, correct?
Well, if not this evening, at least to get thinking about it, and, but I would think certainly by the next meeting, we'd want to be giving the county some guidance on it, so as they're talking to the property owners about right away.
If you want to, now that you know the deal.
Just a
Yeah.
couple tags on your comments. Are you confident that the furthest north property, for example, can't be divided for one more property out of that?
We can, I'm fairly certain that that's the case, but we could take a look at the National Wetland Inventory maps, just to show that, or, because we do have some mapping up there that would show the extent of the wetlands.
That would certainly make a big difference, and then, I would walk alongside you with your thinking there. But the other thing, too, is you mentioned about having some comparisons that we probably need to have before we can go further with it, I would think.
So if there's that additional...
It drops the one down to $5,000. It puts them at roughly $5,000, a little bit more than $5,000.
52.
Yep. Pretty darn close to a little bit. I don't know. You may argue that small. I don't know who owns the smaller property.
Well, just for comparison purposes, we are using a lot of LRIP money on this. Excuse me, the 28th Street that we ordered in at the last meeting, a lot of those parcels on the east side of 28th Street are 100-foot lots, and our proposed assessment rate is a little over $50 per foot. So we are proposing to assess those 100-foot parcels about $5,000 or $5,200 per parcel for the 28th Street project.
They're getting a little bit more, though.
Yes, they're getting curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter,
Yep.
They
storm
also
sewer,
are
bike trail that two people have.
subdividable, too, right?
They're
Pardon?
already-
They're also, some of those parcels are subdividable?
No,
Yep.
no, those would not be, not the 100-foot lots.
Oh, no, right, not the,
Right.
oh,
But
per
they're,
100 feet, okay, I'm sorry. I get it.
Any further questions? You wanna make, anybody wanna make a motion, or?
What do you want?
I don't, I mean, I don't think we need that motion. I think we can just wait till next time.
it sounds like there's some additional information we should provide,
Couple
some
of
mapping.
things, yep,
And,
some mapping on-
and a comparison of assessments with the city of
Those are
Baxter.
the two things that I'd be interested in confirming. If we're gonna come in at $5,000 a parcel, and we're way above what Baxter's doing, I don't think we will be.
No.
Okay, then that will be just for discussion. Next item by Mr. Oscarden is the Planning Commission request to meet with the Safety and Public Works regarding the off-street parking requirements. Mr. Oscarden, is there anything you want to add to your memo?
I think the memo explains what the Planning Commission is looking to do. It's a pretty radical departure from our conventional ways of addressing off-street parking, and because of that, before they spent too much time on it and before staff spent too much time on this, if the council is not interested in looking at this with some other options of how we address off-street parking, I would hope that the Planning Commission would be told that. The other thing that does concern me is that this is a pretty big topic, and a considerable amount of research and time should be spent on putting some information together. Research and time that a one-person shop does not have the ability to do. Plus, you can, get some more objective observations on the issue rather than from someone that's on the inside. So at the last part of my request talks about hiring outside assistance, which we have no money to do. So anyway, the Planning Commission is interested in meeting with you. Like my cover sheet mentioned, one of the things that the committee wanted to do was ask the entire council if they wanted to meet. It just so happens that at the May Planning Commission meeting, May 20th, they do not have any public hearings scheduled. They meet at 6 o'clock. If you were available at that time, we could certainly have a workshop at 6 o'clock to do this. If you want to meet, if that's not going to work, I suggested to them that they get dates that'll work for you, and they work their schedule accordingly.
Let's go to the concept and then worry about the date.
Yep. Got
Okay,
it.
anything more on the concept before we start drilling a hole as to who can go when?
Nope.
Okay. You understand the concept of what he's suggesting, Chip? Any questions? Because I certainly have pretty strong feelings on this myself. But I don't want you guys to be able to.
Well, you know, I really like meetings a lot,
I know.
and
You're retired guys.
it seems like it would be an interesting conversation to have. That's all.
I agree. Doesn't mean I'm for
Okay.
it. I'm willing
Great.
to look at some different
Absolutely
options.
don't mind the meeting either, because you know how much I love them. I will speak against the concept, and here's why. Probably as much as anything, as we're looking at development, off-street parking requirements seem to come up time and time again. And often there is some reconfiguration outside of in some way, shape, or form. It's going to come up on the Royal Tire thing tonight, as far as how many spots they have. But my thought process is if we have nothing, and I will read this line to you. The Planning Commission has discussed eliminating all off-street parking standards and allowing the private sector, which means that the people who submit the plan, and we just approve it based on that plan. Now, to determine the off-street parking. Meaning if I'm going to build a thing and the thing says 50, and I come up with a plan for 40, and it goes through planning and zoning, and they say, yeah, that looks good, and it comes to the council, and we say, yeah, that looks good, and we approve it. I don't have a meeting. I don't need a meeting for that. I like that. That's fine. I don't need a meeting for that. Because we discuss it every single plat anyway. Does that make sense? So, because it's always wrong, because we never have enough space, because Brainerd has too many old lots. It's an old city with a lot of little lots, and we're always trying to jam something into where it needs to fit anyway. That being said, I don't know, in other words, I don't know what the meeting would be about. It's either going to be we stick with some guidelines, these guidelines or something else, or we don't. I can vote on that without having a meeting. Now, that being said, if you guys want to have a meeting, have them too. So, and then you guys get to make the motion, and you have 2 votes. But we're going to, and then the next question is the meeting going to be the 3 of us or the 7 of us? As Mr. Ross. So we got to move. We got a minute and a half. We got another item.
Thank you for your eloquence, and that just simplifies and streamlines this train. Why would we consider it even?
Because we like meetings.
Well, I'd let one go.
Well, make a darn motion then, man. You want to do it, or
I would move that we
Wait,
suggest
wait.
that we leave it the way it is.
okay?
Deal with them on a case-by-case.
We do anyway.
And as long as that's the case, then
You're giving them some guidelines.
yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is to leave it as is. We will make that recommendation to council.
Okay.
Mr. Sheeler may give you an opportunity to throw out, now that you know what we're going to recommend, you can now argue against it or for it, depending on what you want. All right, let's keep rolling. We got 2 more quickie things. Improvement number 1513, the BN Credit Union parking lot.
This is the alley.
The alley improvement,
Oh, yeah.
the quote from Anderson Brothers.
Yep, I'm
Yeah.
redoing it.
We did request quotes from both Anderson Brothers and Tri-City to rework those alleys. The low quote came in from Anderson Brothers, the amount of $10,731.08. Staff would recommend accepting that quote.
So moved.
Second.
Will this solve the drainage issue that they complained
This
about?
it better solve the drainage issue, yes.
Okay, you heard that, Mr. Query. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Item, the 9th one was the, the $9,237.90 request to come from the construction fund to fix our,
To replace the
To
deck.
replace
the data collector.
Any further discussion on that? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion will go to council with an affirmative. End of meeting.